I was constantly bashing myself, tearing myself down, and just feeling like I wasn't good enough, and a whole bunch of other things that we do when we decide that we're going to just beat ourselves up, and when we don't have to.
Roll me, Mac.
What exactly do you feel in your body when triggered? I feel stalled. Yeah, I feel stalled. Stalled of the mind. Most of the time it's like, why didn't I see this sooner? I began to berate myself inside my head. You should have known better. How could you be so stupid to allow them to do this to us? Is it me in my own mind? I freeze up. At times shut down. You know, once you've been in a position where somebody got the best of you, my system shuts down. It just does. It just shuts down, and I'm in constant thought, and sometimes I don't know how to navigate it. Wishing that there was a safe space, right? A safe space. But you put enough trust in these people, in this person, and then to find out that they weren't so careful. And when you see it right there in front of you, you know, you just want to, part of you just wants to run like fuck. You know, you want to run like fuck, you want to run away. And just get away from there, because you know that you're not cared for, you don't feel safe there. And this is what goes on inside the mind. Now what I used to do, you know, just emotionally immature more emotionally immature days, I'll say. Yeah, I would, no matter where I was, I would shut down in front of everybody. And I didn't know why then. You know, I just knew that that's what I did. And when I would shut down, I wouldn't say it. You wouldn't hear a fucking word come out of my mouth. I just refused to. Still to this day, I just believe that my words mean something. So if I'm around people that I believe do not value what I have to say, I shut the shit down. No questions asked. Just, all right, that's fine. You've already shown me what your card is. So at this point, it's on me to continue, to encourage, to entertain, or I can just stay the self. And I mean, back then it just made me very socially awkward. You know, like to be that triggered. Definitely a form of PTSD. So I had to learn how to manage those emotions without it being so evident physically in my body. And what I've learned to do is, I still find myself being silent. It's just how I go about being silent. Stay to self, not gonna throw a tantrum. Just let me process this a little bit. Let me gather my thoughts. Let me not say anything out of anger. Let me not say anything out of revenge, retaliation. Just, it's not required. The ego might feel it's required, but the soul knows it's fine just the way it is, and you don't have to say anything. And the best answer to anger is silence. To sit with yourself. Find out the root of the anger, which is rooted in, your wounded inner child, and then go back and hug you at that moment and realize that you were enough, you were okay, you were fine. That was a person projecting. And in this situation, no different. Is understanding that somebody was projecting their pain onto you. And sometimes you might do the same. Sometimes you might knowingly and unknowingly, project your pain onto others. So, I lock up sometimes. Sometimes I lock up when I'm triggered. And I've seen it in others. And it's like I recognize that. It's like you anticipate the hit that's coming, the yell, the verbal abuse, sometimes physical abuse. And for most of my life, it's been verbal abuse. It ain't really been physical for me, And at my size now, I don't think anybody want to do anything physical. You're better off with a gun. That's about it. But I've learned to just take it. Just take the emotion as it comes. Let it breathe, recognize it, let it go freely. And I try and do my best not to hold on to it. But my body it'll freeze, it'll lock up, it's like I don't want to go around there. If I start to feel pain when I'm around you, I'm going to avoid you. It's not so much about you, I'm avoiding the pain that I believe you bring. There's an energy field around you, and I am avoiding the unhappy and the unlucky. Like nobody's business. I have to stay the fuck away from you. That is my plan, to stay the fuck away. So that's my mindset. It's like, I'm gonna just stay the fuck away from you. But that can be challenging, depending on the type of people that you're around. If you're around people that don't really value mental health and anything like that, they won't have empathy. When they see that you're going through, they'll pretty much act like they'll say you're acting like a bitch or some shit. And those are the people to really not be around that much, But for those who do value that, who values, healing, mental health, and understanding the wounded inner child and all that stuff, yeah, they will allow you to have that space and not tear you down. And that's the key, is finding that. And for some of us, normal is going around the people that call you a bitch. But it's navigating what feels best for us. When we attempt to try to beat ourselves up, does that person can help us beat ourselves up, or do they show us that we're not alone? And that's something you learn over time. For me, I've learned, like, I am okay alone as far as healing goes, and being able to navigate something. I can sit with myself and be like, all right, let's do some breathing exercises. Let's figure out what's us and what's not us. Am I what was said about me? And if it's not the truth, then it's nonsense. And if I am what they're saying, then I have to accept it. But taking a moment to assess the situation, to detach, to look at it and through another lens of, instead of being the victim, being the ally, right? Being an ally to yourself and not wanting to pose negative thoughts on the situation. How do you move about doing that? And it took time. It did. It took a lot of time just learning how my own mind worked, how my mind processed things, why I processed that, why I beat myself up before anybody else did, why I used the word against me, as they say not to do in the Four Agreements. I was constantly bashing myself, tearing myself down, and just feeling like I wasn't good enough, and a whole bunch of other things that we do when we decide that we're going to just beat ourselves up. And we don't have to. We really can just be indifferent. Yeah, you can be indifferent and you can just process what's going on around you and decide if it's for you, if it isn't for you. And it's okay if it isn't, you know? Growth comes in various stages. Same people you started with may not be the same people that you end with. And something to, sometimes that's a hard pill for some to swallow. But it is necessary to let go of what's weighing you down. That is key. That is key, man. A lot of times we don't feel great because we're holding on to something. We're focusing on someone else except for ourselves. If we focus on ourselves, we feel good about it. When you do what you want to do, you feel good. Like when we were kids, when we were babies and stuff, when we did what we wanted to do, we felt great. But when we started starting focusing on somebody else's happiness, that's when we started to, feel not so great, I'll say. When it didn't feel so great. And then you get into a pattern of just being responsible for somebody else's happiness, and they get used to it. And then they come at you and almost in resentment and entitlement when you're not there to help them process their own emotions. They want you to process their emotions, make them happy. An impossible feat in this life to make somebody happy. We are responsible for our own emotions. We're responsible for our happiness. So, but yeah, when I'm triggered, my system shuts down. The entire process shuts down. It's just a safety thing. It's where, retorting inside to try to figure out what the hell's going on around me. And sometimes it comes at a freeze. It's like I don't want to move on things, but it's also recognize what environment you're in. If you're in an environment where you feel like you have to be frozen all the time, you may want to thaw the fuck out and get the fuck out. But yeah, in my body, when I feel triggered, I just shut down. Based on mistakes made in life, what advice would you give to a young boy coming of age? Well, one, to not quit. Whatever you start, in a sense of like, if you joined a program, if you joined a league, if you joined a club or something, finish it out. When it gets challenging, don't just run because it got challenging. Stick with the path that you chose. Carry it out to see how you feel in the end. There were a lot of times I look back at things I did in my life early on that set the pace for the rest of it, with leaving when it got tough, or believing that I was entitled to something so quickly. I had to grasp it. I had basketball figured out already in ninth grade, and I was just gonna go to the NBA. It's not how that works. And that's the thing, it's like you get full of yourself, of being alone and being in your room, and you get caught up in the idea of what you see on TV. You want to be Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, or Penny Hardaway, or Shawn Kemp, Reggie Miller, all the guys that we looked up to in the 90s when we were coming up. And then you get put in a position to where you have to go through those stages that they had to go through. The growing pains of learning the game of basketball. And when you don't apply yourself, you get out of life what you put into it. So if you think you're gonna come into life and just skate by without a challenge, you've been sadly misguided. And that's what it was for me, I could say, is that, especially when it came to basketball, because that's something I really, really wanted to do, but I didn't have the mindset. I was too entitled. I had too much ego to listen to anybody outside of myself. I quit when I quit when it got tough. So how that carries on into the rest of your life is, if you're at a job and the job isn't necessarily going your way, this one time, I'm out of here. Leave that job, go to the next job. Now, as far as relationships go, and I've spoken about this, I've stayed too long in some things that I definitely could have left at the first sighting of it. And then I've left too quickly for something that probably could have been waited out. So it's like finding a fine balance with that as far as relationships go. But when things got challenging, how spoiled I was, I didn't have to. I could hit reset on the game. I didn't have to finish the level. All I had to do was hit reset and it's a new game, or put in a new video game. When you're a young man and you avoid challenge, you avoid the path that it takes to overcome, to see how strong you are mentally, you'll remain a child at heart, in a sense of being afraid to take on life's challenges. And there's been a lot of that for me, I know for sure. And as I recognize it, I do my best to kind of weigh the options. Is it best for me to endure this type of challenge, or is it best for me to get the hell away from it? And I do my best to stay faithful to my discipline on a lot of things, especially like with the gym. There are days where I do not feel like going, especially if I got into something emotionally with a family member or a girl or whatever. There were days where I would not want to leave that bed. That same freeze method of shutting down. But fuck your feelings. Do what's required. Do what's best for you. And I hold myself accountable and just getting up and going to do the gym, do the work, do the discipline, have the tough conversations, walk away from things that no longer serve you. I try to go towards the fire, in a sense, versus running. And there are days I feel like running. I do. That whole thing, it's challenge, gotta go. See you when I see you. But I try to do the opposite of what I commonly would do, because I'm gonna get the same thing. Sometimes it's best to walk towards the fire. In the worst case, you hear something that you don't want to hear. That's why you practice some more Fati, and just be able to listen, even if it's something that you don't want to hear. But at least you'll know. And that's another thing I would do. I would say to younger me, to boys coming of age, don't be afraid to stand your ground, to have boundaries. Yeah, definitely have boundaries, man, especially with friends too. Don't allow your friends to kind of bully you in your room and shit like that, because you want to fit in. Like, no, have them treat you like a person. Don't get me wrong. Boys will be boys, and they rag on each other and all that shit. But have boundaries when you are engaging with other young men, young boys, and stuff like that. You want to have a level of respect. You want to have fun with your friends, but you also want to make sure that they value you and that they respect you, and they don't just see you as some kind of cash cow or something that they can milk from. And then when you no longer have the resources that they want, they find a new cash cow to milk. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that's tough to recognize, man. I know plenty of times where I was a kid and I only hung out with this kid because he had a game that I wanted to play. And I remember my mom talking to me about that because I had invited the kid for a sleepover and everything. All I wanted to do was play his, he had Hook on Super Nintendo. It was one kid that we kind of knew, my parents knew their parents. We were all in Cuba together. And we went over their house or something, and I went up to his room and I was like, oh, they got Hook. And yo, I want to play this game. So I was trying to coerce my mother to get this kid to stay. And then, you know, he came over to the house and stuff, but I just really didn't hang out with him, you know. And mom was like, no, that's fucked up. We're not gonna do that. And so I was like, all right, I'll be, you know, you gotta be better. You know, you gotta be a better friend than that. And still didn't want to hang out with his ass, but I did already, I made my bed, I gotta sleep in it type thing. So after that, we actually went to go see Blue Chips, basketball movie with Shaq and Penny Hardaway and Nick Nolte. You know, so that's just why I'm dating myself for this thing. And we saw it on base, you know. And then after that, I never really hung out with that kid again, you know. But that's what I'm saying about the character of using people. I did that. I can say that. You know, I look at younger me, and that's how spoiled I was. You know, it's like, nah, you got what I want. I'm gonna do that. And then the same shit happened to me. You know, we'd be hanging out in my room. One time, my mom was like, I think my mom and my little brother went to Maryland. And it was just me and my dad at the house. My dad had one of his friends downstairs. I think they were drinking, and then so-called friends were in my room. They were just wrestling and shit. And little did I know they were stealing shit from my room. And I wanted to be cool. You know, I thought they were cooler than I was. So I decided to go along with the shit and just try to fit in, you know, because I wasn't as human as them in my mind. I mean, I know that now, and that's an advice that I would give to, a boy coming of age. Recognize you're just as human as those other boys, man. Don't get caught up in, I'm not as tall as him, I'm not as big as him, or what have you. I don't look as good as him. Whatever you believe about yourself, you can build yourself up. And that's something that I wish I knew that young. And to be original, to be the weird kid, to not go with the, what's trendy so much. Don't get me wrong, there's certain things, you can take part in just to be a part of the moment with your friends, but for the most part, man, like, be original. If you like something, you know what I'm saying, like it's okay to like that shit, even if nobody else does. But if everybody else likes it and you like it too, that's cool as well. But the big thing to take home is about don't start something that you don't want to finish. Don't get me wrong, don't stay at a job where you don't feel valued. Don't stay in a relationship where you don't feel valued. Don't stay around family that doesn't value you. But whatever you start, be sure to finish it. If you start on the basketball team, stay on the basketball team and finish it out. Starting the baseball team, starting the team and finish it out. Starting the football team, finish it out, see if you like it. And if you're in a club, DECA club, choir, band, or any of those things that, high school, middle school offers, ride it out. Just ride it out, give it your best. And leaving a young man, coming of age with this quote from Les Brown: all you can do is all you can do, but make sure you give all you can do. And if you can say that, if you honestly look back and say you gave your 100% your best to a situation, you won't feel bad about it. You won't feel like, man, I could have done better, because you would have given your best. And that's something Miguel Ruiz talks about, in the Fourth Agreement, of like, do your best, do the best you can, do the very best you can with what you do. And A lot of us are not able to say that. We're not able to say we gave our best effort to things because we look back and we would say we could do something differently. So there's that. But for that young man coming of age, for that young boy is coming of age, don't quit, ride it out, have boundaries, and have a frame too. Definitely have a frame with people. Mean what you say what you mean. Don't say things you don't mean, even if it pisses people off. You'll be respected more in the long run for saying what you mean versus saying what people want to hear. What was your favorite amusement park ride during the summer growing up? For me, with my family, it was the Himalaya, right? The Himalaya, if you haven't been on one in Ocean City, or even if you're going to Busch Gardens, I think Busch Gardens has a form of the Himalaya. It doesn't last as long as the one in Ocean City, but it is a cart. It is like a huge cart, right? That you sit low in, and then popular music is playing, and it is running at a speed that is almost uncontrollable, and you just try to hang on for dear life, and sometimes it'll push everybody to that side. So hopefully you don't get put in that position. I've had my older cousins with much bigger than me slide into me, and little cousins, my goddaughter, there's pictures of us, she sliding into me in the corner. Fun times though. The Trimper rides at Ocean City. Google that if you don't know what we're talking about. But my favorite ride during the summer was certainly the Himalaya in Ocean City. What's more important to you, the journey or the destination? I'm going to say the journey. And for me, why the journey is more important than the destination is because it's what you're becoming over time, each day, each level that you wake up. Each time you wake up is a new level to obtain in that day. It's a new video game. Each day is a separate life, and you just keep building little blocks of yourself and becoming whoever it is that you're going to become. Don't get me wrong, it's great if you reach a destination that you set out to do. You set a goal. This is the end game, right? Where's the ship headed? You figure out where your ship is headed. But the journey itself is something that just consumes you. At least me, it consumes me, and just like, all right, each day I gotta go out and I'm gonna try to learn something new. I have it set up that way. I have a schedule to learn something new every day, and learn something new about myself too. That's the only person really I can't control. Whenever I try to control others, I get into shit. But I can't control me, and I can control what I respond to. I can control what gets to me. I can control what my anger, in a sense. I'm choosing to be angry about something. So it's like, okay, all right, why am I choosing to be angry? What's the reason for that? But the journey, man, is it has so much more benefit to it than just getting to the end of it all. But just looking back at it, like what you overcame to get there, is like, for those who haven't seen the Odyssey or even know about the story, that's the whole thing. The journey that Odysseus went through to get back to his wife and his son, what he had to endure, the discipline he had to have to get over certain tasks, the things that he did that put him in position to where it was more challenging than it would be if he had not done such a thing. Like, there's there's lessons. There's lessons we all must learn, and a lot of our lessons come from the mistakes that we make, that we don't recognize until we look back and like, oh yeah, that wasn't the best for me. That wasn't the best move that could have been done. I could have done something else. And you live and you learn. You know, you live and you learn and throughout this life, and thinking you got everything figured out, and then life comes and drops a draw 4 on your ass and switches it up, and then you have to adapt. Now, some of us adapt, some of us freeze. You know, as I said before about when I get triggered, you know, there's a shutdown, but being able to take on life as it comes and moving with that, not having any expectations, doing your best to not have ego, and definitely doing your best to not have entitlement. It's a challenge, you know. It is a challenge. It's a challenge because you have no idea what's on the other side. When you're when you're trying something new every day, you have no idea what's on the other side. Now, there's some people that wake up and they do the same thing and they know what to expect as far as their life goes. That's it. They're just gonna do it. I'm going to go to work. I'm gonna come home. I'm gonna watch TV. I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna do it all over again. And then you have people that want to challenge themselves as far as like trying something new, something out of their comfort zone. And it scares the living shit out of them. And they do it anyway. Because you don't know what's on the other side. I mean, it's exhilarating to go through it, to go through life like that, trying different things, seeing what you like, seeing what you don't like, having the courage to try different things, having the courage to walk away, having the courage to stay, having the courage to fight, having the courage to not fight, having the knowledge to not fight, you know, having the knowledge to fight. All these things you learn, and controlling your mindset when you are placed in these situations is key, because you are in control of your emotions at all times. That's how much power you have. You give away your power when you say shit like, that person made me mad. No, you chose to be. You chose to be mad. We chose to be mad when somebody did that to us. Could they have an influence on us? Sure. They knew how to trigger us. Something about their behavior triggered us. Yes, they did. But you were in control. You were in control the whole time. You gave away your power. Accountability. Accountability matters. And you learn that along the journey. A part of the journey is recognizing how powerful you were the entire time. I think a very profound plot and like climax of a movie or story is The Wizard of Oz. That Dorothy had the power to go home the whole time, and the fate was in her feet. You know, she could have, but she had to go through shit. She had to go through the journey. You know what I mean? And that's with us. We have to go through it. We have the power the whole time, but somehow or another we feel like we don't. But we're in a position of power. Only if we use it. If we choose to use it, we can do that. We have to be willing to upset others. Some of us aren't willing to upset people for our greater good, for what's best for us. We would rather appease to them and hold resentment in later for trying to do what we want to do. And what's commonly said in the manosphere is, you know, when you start doing what's best for you, you're going to piss people off. And have the courage to piss people off. It's all right. You're not responsible for their happiness. It's just doing what's best for you. And there are days where it seems more challenging than others, but it is necessary. It's very necessary to do what is best for you in the long run. And obviously, if you're a parent, you know, you do what's best for your kids, which is essentially best for you until they get on their own and they create their own lives and stuff. But as they're coming up, you know, you want to give them the best of what you know. And that's really all you can give. So to give them the best opportunities and give them the best, lessons in life, you got to learn the best that you can, because that's all we're giving them. We're just giving our kids the best that we know. And don't fault your parents because of whatever they gave you, even if it turned out to be some information that wasn't the best for you. That's shit. That's all they fucking knew. So it's just, grace, forgiveness to them for that. I know I sit with that a lot. There was a lot of resentment that I had for what I was taught, and then once I learned things differently, I used to be quite resentful. But it's all part of the journey. It's part of the journey is recognizing what's for you, what isn't for you. I saw a lot of things that wasn't for me. There were things that I once taught myself that I would learn was not best for me. And what am I to do? Be upset at myself the way I was at my parents? Yeah, could be. Or I can give myself grace too. And it's just a learning lesson. Be willing to be a hypocrite. Be willing to be a hypocrite and switch up your belief on something when it no longer serves you, when it doesn't fit you, because you're in different phases of your life. And we all learn different paces. We learn different speeds. But the journey is so impactful. Destination has its place too, but the journey itself is remarkable. And some of us are still on it. This very moment, as you watch this, as you listen to this, you're on that journey. And hopefully I'm aiding you with finding more about yourself within that journey that you're taking with your life to heal. And that's really what this is all about. It's really just about us healing together. Disagreeing sometimes about some of the shit I say out of my mouth, but I'm okay with that. I might disagree with the way you think about shit too. So that's just perspective. It's not a right or wrong thing. It's just either I agree or I disagree. But that's it, man. We've talked enough about the journey and the destination. Now we've reached the destination of this show. This concludes this episode. So I want to thank everybody for checking out this show. I want to thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing whenever you do on any of that stuff. Be sure to share this with the links with your friend group, group chats, all that stuff. Helps out the algorithm. Just have them hit like and whatnot and work it out that way. That would be great. Help out the algorithm a little bit. But yeah, I'm Romy Mac. This is Ash Rome, and I'm out. Good night, kids.